Hello, you're watching news from Kazakhstan. It is Thursday, November 29th. A forceful intrusion into the editorial office of Golos Respubliki. On Wednesday, a group of bailiffs literally rushed the office, which was defended by its few employees. We offer you footage from the intrusion without commentary.
Is anyone recording this? Yes, we are. Please leave the office. You're hurting my hand. You're going to break my hand now. What are you doing? What are you doing, guys? These are women here. Hurry up, press the panic button.
We're just going to make a quick inspection.
What are you going to inspect? They're filming the place without the witnesses. They're conducting a search. They're practically searching this place without a warrant. Who are you, really? You're a thief, aren't you? Let us see your ID.
I already showed it to you.
No, you didn't. If you're a civil servant, you need to show us your ID.
You've already seen it.
No, we didn't see it. They're searching the office without witnesses. These people broke into the office and haven't identified themselves. They look like criminals.
We are the search witnesses. The search revealed 200 copies of Golos Respubliki newspaper dated November 23rd, stored at the Almaty office. This report was drawn up hereby. Could the witnesses please sign the document?
I'm not signing anything.
No, not you, the witnesses. Also on Wednesday, bailiffs seized part of the circulation of the Nevzglad newspaper. The 99 copies of a new format publication came out in the morning. According to law, on media, circulation of 100 copies or less are not required to register as media. However, these arguments did not keep officials from their task.
According to the deputy editor-in-chief Olesya Sholokova, on Wednesday, court officers took the newspaper staff to the Judicial Acts Department to take their pleadings on operations of the new periodical named Nevzglad that looked similar to the earlier Acts publication Vzglad. Just like in case with Respublika, no documents supporting the removal of the latest issue were provided to the newspaper staff. Later that evening, the deputy chief editor was threatened with a 10-day administrative arrest, although justice officers never came back. They told they would break into the editorial office. We were waiting for their specialists for about a half an hour, but no one came. Court officers just disappeared while we were standing there talking. When we looked back, they were all gone.
A review of the Janauzian case was denied. Attorneys asked for a change to the appeals board's decision, which upheld several oil workers' convictions, in particular Roza Tuletaeva, Maksat Dasmakhambetov, Karat Adilov, and Sisen Spintayev. Details from Aktau in the next report.
The Cassation Board of the Mangistau Regional Court upheld the verdict in Janauzian riots case brought in 3 months ago. After 1 hour of oral arguments of the attorney, the court delivered a ruling following a 10-minute break. The court rules to affirm the decision made by the Board of Appeals of the Mangistau Regional Court on August 6, 2012, and to dismiss the appeal by attorney Zhuraspayeva representing the interests of Tuletaeva, Dasmakhambetov, Yespintayev and Yedilovs. On August 6, the Court of Appeals dropped the sentence for Roza Tuletaeva from 7 to 5 years in prison. Attorney Gulnat Zhuraspayeva is outraged by the fact that Cessation Court disregarded the law violations during the investigation and trial. Of course, I disagree with today's court's decision. Our evidence of gross violations in previous instances have been simply ignored. We're going to appeal to the Supreme Court. On Tuesday, I visited my clients and they also intend to see this through. The families of convicted oilmen were present at the Wednesday's hearing. They also disagree with the ruling of the presiding judge, but refuse to make comments on camera, afraid that the local authorities and law enforcement agencies may exert pressure on them.
Activists of the Simei branch of Alha party sent a telegram to Almaty. Its final destination, Almaty District Court, Judge Amirov.
Party members asked to be given the right to act as defendants in the suit filed by the Almaty prosecutor's office seeking to declare political party Alga an extremist organization. Given that there are many legal formalities that need to be taken care of, Alga members asked to postpone the proceedings for 2 weeks. Party members want to take part in the proceedings, but as the trial is scheduled for November 29th, we need time to complete power of attorney and formalize other required documents. We submitted a petition to the Almaty District Court asking it to postpone proceedings for a few days.
Paul Murphy's Europarliament colleague Patrick Mulholland arrived in Almaty on Wednesday. Northern Ireland's leader of the Public Officials Labour Union was surprised to learn that aside from workers' woes, Kazakhstan is now a host to extremist mass media.
Patrick Mulholland protects workers' rights and came to Kazakhstan at the request of his colleague Paul Murphy, who was denied the entrance visa. He knows firsthand about Janauzen's situation and human rights violations in the country, but was still quite surprised after learning about the prosecution of independent media, which was recently labeled extremist. The European guest is perplexed as Kazakhstan is always presented abroad as a democratic country.
In Kazakhstan, if people raise their voices in opposition to the president, they are attacked for doing so. They will be called extremists, they will be reported very negatively, or even they have their papers shut down and their free speech taken away.
In other news, Vladislav Chelach was once again taken to Taldykhorgan court. The defendant's appearance in the case of Arkhangelsk border outpost massacre marks the beginning of reviewing secret case materials. This part of the hearing is held behind closed doors in the presence of only those with a special pass. Our reporter notes that the trial began to take on bizarre legal forms.
Vladislav Chelach has made his first short appearance in court this week. He still refuses to go through the criminal case files, but this time showed firm intention to testify. I will only attend witness interrogation and classified case files examination. I will testify only after all case files have been studied in due order. After making the statement, Chelach left the courtroom. In turn, his lawyer requested additional expert examination of the forest ranger Ruslan Kim's murder scene in a follow-up to the previously demonstrated video evidence. The lawyer says bullet shells found inside the winter hut were not subjected to fingerprinting. Chelach said he shot him in the back from the doorway. If that was the case, the huntsman's body would have fallen forward, while he was in fact lying with his head towards the doorway. However, the defense petition was yet again objected by the public prosecutor. Both the crime scene and Kim's gunshot wound were subjected to all necessary criminalistic expert examinations and ballistic tests. Svetlana Vashchenko, the mother of Vladislav Chelach, also insists on independent expert examination of the video recording of her son's confessions to a fellow inmate. I want my own independent examination of that recording instead of their questionable expert analysis. Meanwhile, the brother of the killed Ruslan Kim filed a lawsuit against Chelach's family to recover a compensation for moral damages estimated at $46,500.
The general public finally learned on Wednesday that a public servant's job is to serve. Nursultan Nazarbayev has once again scolded mayors and governors on all levels at an extended meeting in Astana. This time the president made no threats to punish officials for every stolen penny, but did promise tough measures for lackadaisical attitude towards budgets and assignments.
On Wednesday's meeting with regional governors, the president of Kazakhstan heavily criticized state officials, saying that they are mostly busy fighting with each other, resembling some kind of medieval princelings, while the president's chief of staff Karim Masimov failed at his previous position as the premier. A civil servant is supported by taxes collected from the population of Kazakhstan. They elected us to serve them, not vice versa. Take this into consideration. Respect and order will be established when you become closer to the people and their aspirations. The president's speech is actual proof that in the 20 years of independence, officials have failed to become more aware of the people's needs. In the regions, civil servants spend most of their time compiling reports. They simply don't have time to work preparing tons of reports. Later, the president turned his wrath against several governors. It appears the head of the North Kazakhstan region is withholding information. Akmala's governor attracting little investments, while in Kostanay region the administration is not deriving all the benefits from the customs union. The head of the East Kazakhstan region, Berdebek Saparbayev, was one of the few officials praised. The number of various inspections has increased recently. Everything is inspected, in particular state institutions, schools, hospitals and kindergartens. I want to ask for the situation to be resolved. This just highlights Masimov's inefficiency as a prime minister. He failed his task to reduce the number of inspectors counted in the thousands. At the end of the meeting, Nazarbayev concluded that only skilled people will have a chance to grow as professionals. The officials who received most complaints are likely to have been already put on the president's blacklist. Nazarbayev promised to take drastic measures against 2 agencies, the Ministry of Finance headed by Bolat Jamishev and the Accounts Committee under management of Aslan Musin.
In the meantime, former parliamentarians spoke about the role of the president at a special conference held in Astana at the initiative of the lower chamber. Instead of acknowledging Nazarbayev's contribution towards the development of parliamentarianism, our correspondents observed how the discussion is once again turned into a singing of praises.
During the conference, current MPs didn't have much to do, while their former colleagues were actively competing in eloquence, either as a habit or just in case. Our nation's leader is extremely good at diplomacy and has the ability to organically combine fundamental interests of the people with the interests of other states. Nobody, not even the governors of superpowers, come close to him. From time to time, when we stood on the verge of hostilities with other states, Nursultan Nazarbayev always managed to remedy the situation as a great diplomat. Not everyone can do it. We got to give him credit for it. Indeed, individuals like him are born once in a century. Vladimir Nekharoshev couldn't resist praising the president either. This time the former MP compared the nation's leader to a jewel. There are many valuable people, yet very few are precious like a jewel. Nazarbayev is indeed very precious to us. After so much praise, the event seemed to lose all remaining direction and point. Talking about democracy and the very institution of parliamentarianism in Kazakhstan would seem politically suicidal at this point.
National Anti-Corruption Committee officials intend to write a letter to the president warning him of a predicted surge of unrest in southern Kazakhstan region. The reason being that former Chief of Staff Aslan Musin's appointees, governors of Shymkent and Turkestan regions, are out of control, according to activists.
The issue at hand is linked to Western Europe, Western China project. According to the committee members, the heads of the administrations have embezzled funds allocated for compensations to people whose houses were demolished due to the construction. The speakers at the press conference requested to send a special commission to the region and make all those responsible liable for their actions. The head of the Anti-Corruption Committee believes the situation could potentially lead to increased tension in the area.
Я ответственно заявляю вам, что на сегодняшний день в Южно-Казахстанской области назревает социальный взрыв.
I declare officially that South Kazakhstan region is on the verge of the social explosion among the local population. As the governor Mirzakhmetov is idle, moreover, he supports the corrupt activities of Shymkent Mayor Kairat Moldasiyitov and Turkestan Mayor Serbay Alibek.
Шымкента Кайрата Молдасиитова и акима города Туркестана Сербая Алибека.
Kazakhstan police will step up security this weekend, starting December 1st until December 3rd, due to celebrations of the Day of the First President. It is not considering redeploying MIA forces across regions.
We'll be stepping up the security December 1st through 3rd during the celebration of the First President's Day.
The scandal involving the Kazakh embassy building in Moscow has reached the president. Senators began discussions over the letter addressed to the head of state by its residents who still have not been resettled in the last 20 years. In the address, residents accused the Kazakh embassy of fraud and asked the president for his protection. Too bad the letter came at a bad time. More on the housing issue in the next report.
This poster is a vivid example of the resentment Moscow downtown residents have towards Kazakhstan. We are here regarding the rejection of the rally. Tenants of the Moscow building given by the authorities to Kazakhstan as an embassy still face problems with resentment after 19 years. Kazakh officials are engaged in money laundering in Moscow while we remain hostages of the situation. They show us our future homes, which then appear to be sold. We appealed to the ambassador and the state manager, but nobody got back to us. It seemed that 3,000 kilometers away from Moscow, these concerns caught the attention of Kazakhstan MPs when newspaper Izvestia published the appeal of the apartment owners addressed to the president of the country. There were complaints to Nursultan Nazarbayev regarding the premise meant as a residence for Kazakh embassy in Russia. Ambassador Galim Arazbakov reported that local residents are extremely displeased. Talking to the Deputy Foreign Minister Amangildi Jumabayev, Parliament member Mukhtar Altynbayev said that this is especially unfortunate on the eve of the First President's Day. As noted by another MP, Gani Kasimov, the issue has been around for 40 years and the building in question was given to Kazakhstan ages ago. In response, Altynbayev said he wasn't so much concerned about the resettlement itself, but actually about the attempt to get the president involved in the issue. Moscow activists aren't sure if they should be pleased or not about the appeal becoming a matter of political dispute, but they definitely don't care about the image of Kazakhstan's president when their housing rights are at stake. I didn't know that December 1st was the first President's Day. The coincidence of our appeal isn't intentional, since we just wanted some reaction. But how could the officials say that they don't care about this? We have all the papers proving that year after year they promised us new apartments, but after they get built, they just sell them off. These are the housing conditions which the Moscow residents left to face as they stay hostages of the deadlock with the Kazakh government. For almost 20 years, tenants are not allowed to sell their premises, resettlement promises remain unfulfilled, and dozens of people have to continue living with common kitchens and without even basic amenities.
Foreign experts arrived to teach Kazakhstanis new and civilized parking methods. The Europeans' main recipe is hourly rates. We explore whether drivers are ready to pay and new parking spots are ready to be built in the next story.
International experts are convinced it is time for Kazakhstan officials to face major reforms for the parking policies. The first suggested step is introducing a paid parking concept that will supposedly encourage Almaty drivers to opt for public transportation.
To do so far. As I mentioned, in 2 weeks' time we will complete our survey and we will have a much broader picture of the habits.
The European experts' advice was taken by the Almaty parking representatives with due attention. The company has been holding the parking business niche for the last 5 years, boasting annual revenue to over $600,000 and 140 employees. There are a few lawmaking and investment aspects we need to consider first. The green jackets of parking attendants are familiar to every Almaty driver who pay an humble 30-cent voluntary compensation for the assistance in pulling out from lots. The Almaty parking management admits that this procedure is indeed outdated, but has nothing else to offer at this point. Maria Snegina has only 1 year of driving experience. Nevertheless, she has witnessed enough examples of mess on the roads and parking spots to co-create a website, I Park Like an Ass. The first few published pictures encourage citizens to take up the initiative of enforcing the driving culture and rules. We now have more than 3,000 members. No one wants to be exposed on the site with the ass parking label and risks to be seen by friends and family. This makes people more careful on the road. Kazakhstan's internet also features numerous funny videos of unsuccessful parking attempts. The parking policy discussion continues today over the new examples of European practices. However, it still remains to be seen whether the international experience can actually improve local efficiency.
The environment is striking back. An unprecedented growth of cancer is noted in Pavlodar region with nearly 2,000 diagnosed incidents. While medics are attempting to combat the ailment at its early stages, independent experts say the root of the problem lies in the polluted environment. More on the story from the risk zone.
This hospice is the last refuge for terminally ill cancer patients. It is never empty in Pavlodar and actually quite busy. There are only 15 beds inside, but the demand is much higher. We are always occupied. I can't say about the statistical increase in disease rates, but one thing is certain, we always have patients to treat. It was not until this year that Pyotr Dolgik found out that he was ill. When he did, it was already too late. The retired worker believes that emissions from industrial companies caused his illness, and the only thing saving other people is Pavlodar's windy weather. The environment is very bad. There's really too much industry in the city. It's good that we have strong winds that blow away some of the emissions. Imagine if those factories were in Almaty, a city with no or little winds. People wouldn't live to be 50. Independent experts agree with the patient. Human rights activist Yuri Pavlenko only recently learned and voiced the real magnitude of the present environmental disaster. Every Pavlodar resident inhales about a ton of hazardous emissions each year, which makes it 3 kilos per day. Oncological diseases in Pavlodar are directly related to hazardous emissions. We need to make a transition to green economy because in just 2 years it will be absolutely impossible to live here. So far, it isn't clear whether the experts' predictions will come true, although facts speak for themselves. 1,700 people have been diagnosed with cancer since the beginning of the year. Statistics indicate that the region is a leader in cancer diseases. While doctors are trying to save their patients, Pavlodar administration is making new plans for industrial expansion. A new free economic zone will soon emerge near the regional center, featuring an entire chemical cluster. If everything goes through, even stronger winds won't be able to shield the region's population.
And finally, on to cultural news of the day. The National Museum in Almaty hosts an open day at an exhibition devoted to one notable persona. Our reporter spoke with the visitors.
The Central State Museum was unusually crowded on Wednesday as school children, students, cadets, civil servants and pensioners came here with a specific common goal. On the eve of the first President's Day, we're among the first to hold an exhibition dedicated to the head of our independent state. Students also openly explain what have brought them here. We were told that some kind of Nazarbayev's forum is underway here and we need to attend it. 5th grader Abzal came extra prepared with a lot of knowledge about the first President's Day. The kid also wants to become the president one day and thus he sends his best regards to the head of state. I've sent a letter to the president wishing him good health and strength. I want him to stay wise and remain a good leader. Zoya Taksabayeva is a member of the Veterans Council for Patriotic Education who believes the scale of the Wednesday event isn't big enough for Nazarbayev, a figure just as important, if not more than JFK. I've been to Boston where I saw the Kennedy Museum. It was a big 5-story building. I wish we had a more spacious location dedicated exclusively to Nursultan Nazarbayev. The organizers and the museum staff ask the visitors to ignore the relatively small size of an exhibition. The fans of the head of state are recommended to visit Astana, where the president is celebrated on an entirely different scale. We shouldn't forget that in Astana there is a museum dedicated to the first president. It used to be the Presidential Cultural Center, but then it was renamed the Nazarbayev's Center. Many exhibitions dedicated to the president are held here. The Almaty exhibition will last until February 1st, 2013.
That is all we have time for now. Thank you for watching. See you tomorrow.